Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most, here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying.
Yeah, baby. Listen, I got a fun technique for you if you want to have want to start the weekend process, but you still have to work. I'm just going to give this to you. You take before you go home on a Tuesday, you get yourself one of them energy drinks that's mostly juice, right? Crack it just a little bit, then leave it there in the sun in the window before you go home for work. And you come back the next morning, you got yourself some fermented energy drink, if you know what I mean. Oh, you've never been deployed, have you?
I've never what? Deployed? No, I've never been deployed. I've never been deployed.
You've never been deployed. What old General Order 1 Alpha, no alcohol. Oh, yeah? Keep giving me juice drinks. Watch what happens.
Okay, then. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just have to take your word on that one, sir.
Capri Suns were the best. Poke a little pinhole in the top.
Right?
Set them on the roof for a day up in the sun. You came back and you had yourself a nice Capri Sun.
Oof. For some reason, that just does not sound healthy.
Yeah, try not having some for 6 months, then you won't care.
Well, I'm sure there were other ways that people found to perhaps get a little alcohol here and there out to the, no?
No.
Well,
no,
there you go.
It really wasn't any other way.
Well, there you
could
go.
have some
See,
fake
now
non-alcoholic beer. They would tell you it's the devil's juice, and then they would give you fake alcoholic beer every once in a while, and you're like, "What is this crap?"
it's the fake devil juice.
I was in the local liquor store, right? One of the big chain ones recently for the holidays. And they had a cart with specials in it. And I saw a bunch of names I recognized. And I grabbed one and I picked it up. And as I picked it up, I'm reading it and I dropped it and just started to wipe my hands like this. And one of the customer service people came over and was like, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? And I'm like, it said non-alcoholic on it. Why would you put that here? And I was just trying to get it off my hands. And she was like, I thought there was like a bug or something on it, sir. You're kind of weird. I was like, well, whatever. So
No, that's not good. That's bad practice. Don't do that. They should never do that. Do not mix alcohol and non-alcoholic stuff.
It's unless it's the mixer, but not.
There you go.
Don't make it look like it's the alcohol,
There you go. Unless it's the mixer. I can 100% agree with that one. All right, well, hey, let's go ahead and get into the program, and we will start with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hi to Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. If you want yourself a nice new AR barrel for your AR rifle, you got to check out these guys. They got pistols, they got rifle lengths, they got all different calibers, and they'll be at the SHOT Show party with us on Monday night as well, Monday the 22nd in Las Vegas. So that's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Make sure you check out the California 6th congressional race while you're there. If you want the best in concealment holsters, tactical holsters on the market, check out Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want some tactical gear, going outdoors, you're going hunting, you're going camping, you're doing whatever you need to be doing, you can get everything except the gun at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. As Mike has mentioned, Craig DeLuz, that would be me, running for the 6th Congressional District here in California. Would encourage you, please, help out. I am not a wealthy man, and I do not have deep pockets. I am not bought and paid for by special interests. The only special interest that I answer to is you. So I need your help. Folks, running for office ain't free, so I want to encourage you, go to CraigDeLuz.com. Tell you what, right now, we're raising money to buy some of those yard signs, some of the, the little ones, but also the big ones that we're going to have like at various different places throughout the district. So we'd like to encourage you, go there, donate a few bucks, a few shekels. Just go ahead, just click right there on that little donate button. And bam, look at it, pop right up, and you can just give a little bit right there. You can give up to $3,300, but would encourage you, whatever amount you give, trust me, it will all be greatly appreciated. Finally, I want to make sure to remind you, please take a moment, visit our sponsors. Their links are in the description to this program. So all you got to do is click on the link, go to their website, check them out. If you like what you see, spend some money with them. It's really not that hard. Spend some money with them, and then make sure you let them know that it was the guys over at the Rundown that suggested you stop by.
Craig, I just got an image in my head of your first week in DC, in Congress, sitting there at your table on a Wednesday with a little pouch of Capri Sun sitting in front of you. I just got that image.
The problem is the temperature in the House chambers. It's going to be a little hard because it's hard to get it to where it needs to get to in order to have that desired effect you were referring to.
Sure, but you'll bring the Capri Sun in with you when you come in. I mean, it's not like you can bring in a flask. You just,
there you go.
Oh, this is just my Capri Sun for lunch. It's okay.
You think they don't drink in the Capitol building? How cute.
well, not on the good side, right?
Not on the good side, exactly.
Yeah. It's clear the rest of them are drunk.
Look, when you consider some of the bills the Democrats propose, that if they're not drinking, they are definitely high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's Gummy Thursday. Yeah.
Not a doubt. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's stories. This first one, man, I don't want to say that I never thought we'd ever get to this point because let's just be honest. It really hasn't mattered whether we've had a Republican administration or a Democrat administration. The national debt, right? I'm not talking about the deficit. The deficit is how much more we're spending than we're taking in, right? And at the end of each year, that however much more we've spent, that's added on to our national debt. And that national debt has gone up no matter whether we've had Republicans or whether we've had Democrats. It's slowed with some. But with some, it's in overdrive. And right now, folks, our national debt, the amount that we are spending over what we are bringing in, is growing astronomically and has hit a new record, $34 trillion. That's right, trillion with a T. And I'll tell you what, it's grown so fast that even the Associated Press, the left-wing media propaganda arm of the Biden administration, even they've had to admit, man, this is kind of crazy. Let me just read a little bit from the story here. It says the federal government's gross national debt surpassed $34 trillion, a record that foreshadows the coming political and economic challenges to improve America's balance sheet in the coming years. The U.S. Treasury Department issued a report Tuesday logging U.S. finances, which have become a source of tension in a politically divided Washington that could possibly see parts of the government shut down without an annual budget in place. Republican lawmakers and the White House agreed last June to a temporary lift of the nation's debt limit, staving off the risk of what could be a historic default. The agreement lasts until January 2025. Here are the answers to questions about the new record national debt. Now, the first thing is, it says, how did the national debt get this? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I wanted to read this one part to you. It says the national debt eclipsed $34 trillion several years sooner than pre-pandemic projections. The Congressional Budget Office's January 2020 projection had gross federal debt eclipsing $34 trillion in fiscal year 2029. So now, Mike, if there's anything that the Biden administration can take credit for is, well, they, not only have they hit a new record high, they did it in record time.
Yeah, let me give you some little bit of historical numbers, so folks, you can plot this in your brain. When President Reagan was in office, it just about doubled, or just over doubled, and went to about 2 trillion. During Obama's presidency, it went from 10 trillion to 20 trillion. During President Trump, it went from the 20 to about 24, and then the COVID hit, and it went from 24 to 28. It accelerated it there with all of the bailouts trying to keep the country alive. And now from 28 trillion to 34 trillion, so up that 6 trillion in just 3 years.
Yeah, it's now a lot of that. Once again, a lot of that you do look at COVID, but the problem was, number one, and I think that a lot of economists look now, and even I think there are many Republicans who acknowledge, because Republicans played a role in that during the COVID time as well. But the big problem largely was they overspent. When you look at the overall scope of the pandemic, quite frankly, we acted as if, in terms of our spending, that every state shut down the way blue states did, or the way blue cities did, instead of just realizing that actually the entire economy did not shut down. Only blue states really shut down. And that really put a kibosh on the. Well, what it did was it put money in people's pockets that they would then turn around and spend. That they also then would turn around and wind up driving up inflation. If you want to know, this is the worst part about all of that spending. It drove up the cost of everything, and it's a national debt. So that's money that basically our children's and our children's children are going to wind up having to pay off.
Yeah, let's be clear about that, right, Craig? When the money became available, right, and it's not like they went out and created new funds. We just added to the debt after COVID. All of the blue states jumped on every dollar available they could, to try and send to their states, to their special interest groups, and everybody else. Now, the Republicans did much the same. Do you want to be the guy sitting there going, "Oh, look, there's this pool of money available. I'm going to let all the blue states have it." Thereby, their rates don't raise, their inflation doesn't raise, but ours do. So they
right.
They get it. It's like they got to bite their tongue and take the money. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you watch the Democrat states move ahead of you.
Well, I'll tell you, there were people out there who looked and they said, "Well, Republicans are hypocrites for taking stimulus money." And I'm like, look, here's the deal. If you don't take it, let me just for those of you out there who didn't, let me just tell you something. That money did not just go back into the pool. That money got spent. That money is spent. They have spent it. You just didn't spend it. I used it, and I used it to make sure I used it to finance and take care of stuff with my business. I just realized that, look, no matter what is going to happen, me and my children are going to wind up having to pay this money back. We ought to see some benefit from it. And that, I think, is an important thing to note. Once the money is out there, once they've decided it's going to be spent and it's been passed, unless there is a way that you can completely turn around Congress like that, that money ain't coming back. That money's gone. That money's spent. And if you don't spend it, if you don't take it, it's going to go to some left-wing liberal cause, some group that you don't want it to go to, and that's who's going to wind up spending it.
Yeah, and I didn't take it, Craig. Didn't take the stimmy money. Didn't take it. Didn't take them. It was one of those, you know what? I could do this without this. I know this money's going back into the pool for somebody else, but I could do it without this. And I'm just going to work harder. And that's what I did during that period. Just worked harder to make those ends meet. Now, on the flip side, I did take the Florida stimmy money when Governor DeSantis sent out money to first responders when they got additional first responder checks. Mm-hmm. Took that money because that money I felt we'd earned.
Right. Well, like I said, I used it to invest in my business, to invest in the stuff that we have here, the stuff that we're able to use to do this program. So stimulus money actually helped get the rundown off. In fact, it's funny. I didn't even stop to think about it. We launched the rundown, literally the month before COVID hit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to put anyone down that used the stimmy money. If you needed it, you used it. good for you. It was just one of those things I thought we could do without, and we did. So
Yeah.
now I didn't take the business bailout stuff either. Was able to tighten those belts and make it work. But
Oh yeah,
but
no,
a lot
I
of my
didn't
industry was not
didn't use
affected
any of
by
that. Didn't
you know?
use any of that either. In fact, what was interesting was because of so much of what I do is digitally related, business actually boomed because a lot of my clients doing stuff online was an afterthought.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden it couldn't be an afterthought because that was how they needed to be able to communicate with people. So,
Exactly right.
you know, man,
Exactly
it's
right.
just one of those things, though. We have got to find a way to get this debt under control. And the first thing we have to do is first of all, let's try some actual redefining of terms. If you want to actually cut spending, stop saying you're going to cut the projected growth and cut the actual spending. So no more saying you're cutting spending if you're not actually cutting spending. All right. That is key number one. Number two, it's really important for all of us to decide what are our sacred cows and be willing to put those sacred cows on the table and be willing to say, look, you know what is it that we can really do without? And we got, quite frankly, we got to be honest. As politicians, politicians have to be honest with us about what it's going to take to balance the budget. And we have to be willing to accept that reality and not just vote for the guy who tells us, well, I can give you everything and it's going to cost you nothing.
Yep. I got 2 3-word phrases. Craig.
Go for it.
That will turn it around. Are you ready? Drill, baby, drill.
That's one.
Okay?
That's a good one.
Making us energy independent again. All right. And finish that wall. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
No longer do you have millions and millions of people coming across your border that you have to support every day.
Well, and it will do a lot to save the cost of government. I mean, well, one will help not just the cost of government, but our cost, because everything we have is either produced and made utilizing petroleum products, or they are transported to us via utilizing petroleum products, or the energy used to produce them comes from, in one way or another, petroleum products. So it would increase the cost of everything. Generally, by actually enforcing our immigration laws, then you would also decrease the cost of governments. Because as I was noting, I was listening to a story earlier, and they were saying we literally have the population of Seattle coming across our border every month. Every month.
And if you've been to Seattle, if you've been to Seattle and seen the people there, I'm not impressed. So.
I'm talking about the number of people.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm talking about the number of people. I'm not talking about grunge hipsters. Anyway.
American League Baseball.
But look, folks, this is be real. You cannot expect to be bringing that many people into your country on a monthly basis for Biden's going to be there for 4 years and not have it have an impact. People who are largely low skilled, low educated, low income, and may or may not speak English. And they are now being dispersed all throughout the country. Now, you don't think that's going to cause a cost in the rise of government? Of the stuff that all the government programs and whatnot, you don't think that's going to affect your tax dollars? That's going to grow the deficit? You don't think so? Really? Can you do me a favor? Can you ship me a little bit of what you've been smoking?
That's it.
Anyway, just
If you
saying.
get all that extra cash on you, go on over to CraigDeLuz.com and get
There you
some
go.
of it there.
There you go. Yeah, if you got all that extra cash, then go ahead and donate it. CraigDeLuz.com. Help me get elected to Congress so I make sure that you have even more to be able to spend. Anyway, moving right along. We've talked about this. So when we were on the air yesterday, the resignation came through. The Harvard president, Claudine Gay, she decided that she was going to resign. So she decided to resign. What's interesting about it is that apparently when it comes to all of this, the only person that really is at fault for any of this stuff, well, the only real victim, in all of this, is her. Let's read a little bit of the article. It says, Claudine Gay had faced mounting pressure to step down in recent weeks. In a letter announcing her resignation, she said it was in the best interests of the university for her to go. You think? It has been distressing to have doubt cast on my commitments to confronting hate and to upholding scholarly rigor, she said. This is not a decision I came to easily. Of course not, because it took you forever to do it. Indeed, it was difficult beyond words, Dr. Gay wrote, adding that her resignation would allow Harvard to focus on the institution rather than the individual. Now, what's funny about this, Mike, is you have people who are basically blaming, this commentator from MSNBC, I'm going to let you listen to what he has to say about this, and I think it'll give you the full context of what she and everyone on the left thinks about her having to resign.
This afternoon, Harvard's first black president, a woman named Claudine Gay, resigned her position. The move comes after conservatives and Republicans have been telegraphing their goal to have her fired for weeks. Everything from a bad faith hearing on campus anti-Semitism to unfounded plagiarism charges were thrown at her. Among those delighting in news of Gay's resignation is New York Republican Congresswoman and Harvard alum Elise Stefanik. During the early December hearing, Stefanik questioned Gay, along with the presidents of the University of Pennsylvania and MIT, about how they would address anti-Semitism on campus in the wake of the Hamas attack on Israel. After Claudine Gay announced her resignation today, Stefanik tweeted in all caps, quote, "Two down," referencing Penn President Elizabeth McGill's resignation in the days following the hearing. Elise Stefanik's bad faith investigation into campus anti-Semitism is undermined by her consistent support for anti-Semitic candidates. She backed Buffalo developer Carl Palladino for a House seat, despite audio of him saying that Adolf Hitler was, and I quote, "the kind of leader we need today." And Stefanik has also forcefully endorsed Donald Trump, a man who, as president of the United States, accused American Jews of being disloyal when they vote for Democrats, and who, as a candidate, has retweeted anti-Semitic memes and all but cites Mein Kampf at his 2024 campaign rallies.
All right. There are so many different problems with this. No, all right, first of all, number one, you notice he didn't quote what her response was when asked the questions, right? He didn't note that she said, well, it's only a violation of our policy depending on the context. I'm sorry. What the heck does that mean? So you're saying that, and I still wish she would have shared with them the context. What's the context in which calling for the extermination of Jews would not be against Harvard's policy? But anyway, he there's the good faith the bad faith investigation. And then I love the way he went after Donald Trump, where basically, now keep in mind, this is the guy who actually moved the capital. I mean, moved our embassy from where it was to Jerusalem, which is what they wanted. I'm sorry. We have had very, very few pro-Jewish or pro-Israel presidents that are more pro-Israel than Donald Trump. And you know me, I try to be pretty balanced on Donald Trump as I can. So for me to say that, I must have seen enough information to believe that to be true.
Yeah, remember Donald Trump said that Jews were disloyal for voting for the Democrat Party. You know, his belief was, like much the rest of us, is you're the victims here, but you keep voting for the people that are making you the victim. That's what the disbelief was. And this guy's all over the place, Craig. I'm not sure he knows who he hates from day to day. He just hates different people. He says Claudine Gay's name like she's a LGBT supervillain. Dr. Gay, he kept saying. It was ridiculous. Although, Craig, I do admire her a little bit. She's a woman that's decided, you know what? I'm done with my hair. I'm going to get the number 2 clipper and just that's the end of it. I'm not going to have to worry about it ever again. And I can admire that. I'm all for that.
Well, she could have at least got a little bit of a fade or something, line it up a little bit. I mean, that's
Other
she's
priorities
got
are-
like the little
are fine.
1970s mini afro. But what gets me, Mike, is so this guy is he is a university professor at Morgan State. And what gets me is now you see how much information, how many details and facts he left out in order to share his diatribe. Imagine him doing that every single day to students. Now, I will tell you what's great about this. He goes on talking about why are we so focused on the elite universities? And my whole thing is, I think he's right. I think we need to realize this is happening at all universities. It's happening at state universities, at it's happening at private universities. The fact is that these sorts of people are still running. When I say these sorts of people, I mean left-wing cultural Marxists who hate America are still leading universities across the country. And there's still many of them are teaching at these universities, which, by the way, she still will be, earning her salary of $900,000 a year, almost $1 million a year, just to teach, at Harvard.
Well, you got to have some compensatory relief, right? They can't just let her, if they let her go or if they fire her, Craig, then they're going to fight her. So $900,000 a year, that's probably what they would spend in litigation fees to fire her. So just let her stay and teach. We'll put her in charge of
Actually, I
teaching.
think that's what they probably negotiated in order to get her to actually resign.
Yeah.
Because if that had been, let's be real. If that had been a white male conservative professor, they'd have been out on their butt before day one. The microphone would not have been turned off in the congressional hearing before they got fired. No, by the way, just to be clear, she was not let go because of what she said in Congress that day. It was literally just the almost 50 accusations. And by the way, you didn't have to go very far to actually see them outlined. She completely another. It is not. She is not accused. They are not. This is not a case of she was wrongfully accused or just accused. They weren't baseless. There's a lot of base to those accusations.
Yeah, of her discrimination and her plagiarism. Yeah.
I'm talking like Barry White level base.
Damn, you're getting down there, ain't you?
All right, wanted to give a quick note. Here we go. Gaston Glock, the namesake for the Glock firearms. He has passed away. He is dead at the age of 94. Pulling up the story right here. Gaston Glock, the man responsible for developing the namesake weapon, died on Wednesday at the age of 94. Glock developed the famous handgun in the 1980s when the Austrian military was looking for a new innovative weapon. Until then, the Glock company had made military knives and consumer goods, including curtain rods. Glock assembled a team of firearms experts and came up with the Glock 17, a lightweight semi-automatic gun largely made of plastic. The revolutionary design, with a frame made of high-strength nylon-based polymer and only the slide made of metal, beat several other companies' blueprints and secured his upstart outfit the contract. So, just wanted to note, as a person who is I for one happen to be a Glockaholic, just wanted to say it's a sad day for all those out there who enjoy Glocks.
Yeah, listen, and the story's mostly right. It's got some nice little errors in it, but listen. Here's a guy who made e-tools, entrenching tools, canteens, and knives for the military, and then they decided they wanted a new handgun, so they sent a fax out to all of their distributors, all their manufacturers, and he got the fax. Wasn't supposed to go to him. but he got his people together and they created it. They were able to create such an innovative design for firearms because they had no clue how firearms work. They just got on a drawing board and said this will work, and they made one. So, and that was when he was 52 years old, by the way, Craig. So at 52 is when this guy's $1 billion fortune started. So you and I, we got potential. I'm just saying.
We still got a shot, man. We still got a shot.
Yeah. I'd love to be a billionaire for 94 years, but I'll take the last 40. I'll take the last 40.
Yep. I can handle that. I can handle that. All right, our last story today, one that it's kind of, how do I put this? U.S. Boxing okays trans fighters. So U.S. Boxing decided to issue a policy relating to basically male fighters fighting females. Now, in their policy, what they do say, the only thing that I will give them credit for is at least they require them to be post-surgical, meaning, you got to be fully committed. You're not just some dude trying to be a female box, trying to be beat up on females. You're at least believe you are really trans. You either truly believe you are transsexual, transgender, or you're committed to the lie. We'll put it that way. But they actually put in place a number of requirements relating to testosterone levels, as well as having to be post surgical. My issue still once again is, it's not just about hormones. It's not just about hormone levels or testosterone levels. If you have gone through puberty as a male, you have significant advantages over an individual who went through puberty as a female, and there's just no doubt about that. Just being male, just because you remove the hood ornament doesn't mean that you are no longer physically a male. You just have to pee sitting down.
I'm going to leave part of that alone. Like Craig, if they're willing to commit to the whole banana-ectomy to get to go box, I guess let them go get pummeled a little bit. But it's science, folks. It's what Craig is saying. If you go through puberty as a male, your bone density is stronger, your muscle density is thicker, and it's going to stay with you for the rest of your life, even after you have the old junkectomy there. So. I like in the photo though. There's that woman standing there next to her in disgust, like, I've been working out my whole life and can't look like that. Why are you going to be like that in front of me?
Yeah, it once again, I think there's no room for debate in terms of whether or not they have advantages over boxers who are born women. The real issue that I have here is, now we're talking an issue of danger. This is a combat sport, right? This is basically someone who used to be a man punching a woman in the face, seeking to do harm, to knock that individual unconscious, and, by the way, having the ability to do so. I heard someone commenting earlier, and they said, you've heard instances of people basically the one punch knockouts. Have you ever noticed that you've never heard of a woman knocking someone out in one punch?
Yeah, it's true. You don't hear that. That's very true.
Let alone a woman knocking out another woman in one punch. Now, what do you think the likelihood of that starting to happen in boxing once you start having more, once again, transgender women competing against women?
Is that the definitive term? Once the procedure's complete, that's when they're transgender, or is?
Well, no, right? You're transgender. All you have to do is say you are. If you say you're a woman, and that's the argument. So they say, well, like they're thinking transgender women are women, so they just want to say they're a woman. And most of us are like, well, no, you're a transgender woman, meaning you were born a male and you wish to identify as a female or as a woman.
Okay. Got it. I don't know if that's any more clear, but I think
It's
I think I
well, that's the
understand what
point. It's not.
what boxing is saying. Boxing is saying until your surgeries are complete, you're not competing, and then your hormone levels are where they should be. You're not competing. So
Exactly.
they're at least trying to make it a little more of a fair fight.
They are attempting to do so. I still think it falls seriously short. I am not a doctor. In particular, I do not specialize in sports medicine, so I don't know what all of the significant differences are. I just know I've heard arguments on both sides, and I find that those who argue that they still have a significant biological advantage, the evidence seems to be more compelling.
Seems like what they should do is set a new category for boxing and just let post-transoperative women fight other post-transoperative women.
Or if a woman wants to compete in that group, they should be allowed to compete in that group. But women should not be forced to compete against formerly biological males.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, agreed.
So at least then you know what you're getting into, right? Depending on the sport, it would add a real. They then really would be kind of mixed martial arts, but at least then you know what you're getting into and you have a choice, right? That's the way that makes a lot more sense. But even now, then though, there's other sports that are not combat sports, but they're still physical contact sports. Like there's there's basketball. There's the where women contacting men. I mean, men contacting women can do damage. There was the instance where the volleyball, where the biological male spiked the ball, hit a girl in the face, and she still has mental deficits to this day as a result of what happened.
So you're saying instead of mixed martial arts, we could have mixed marital parts?
Now we're getting into marriage. That's a whole nother discussion. That's a whole can of worms I'm not going to open on this one.
Talking about the marital parts.
Marital parts. Mixed marital parts. Yeah, okay. Anyway, now's the time for our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. Go to hogholsters.com. Get your Hog Holster today. Use discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. We're going to go ahead and start off with, our good friend Claudine Gay. Well, she finally explained what actually happened, right? Coming to us from the Babylon Bee, Claudine Gay claims white supremacists went back in time and forced her to plagiarize at gunpoint. Because it's never her fault, right? It's always someone else's fault.
Now she's saying it's Michael J. Fox's fault. Listen,
now it's Michael J. Actually, it would be more Professor Brown, Doc Brown's. It would be more his fault. Yeah. He wore a white robe. I wonder if a hood came with that robe.
Oh! There you go. You just ruined Back to the Future 4 for
Back to the Future is white supremacy. White supremacy. Well, the Claudine Gay, by the way, because one of the reasons why she could not come out and support the idea of calling for the extermination of Jews, she said it would not be against policy. It's not a bad thing, depending on the context. Well, the context would be if you happen to be a leader of Hamas. As noted here, also in the Babylon Bee, tragic. Hamas loses 2 leaders in one day.
She got some new glasses there. I see that. She's gone with the rounded glasses now.
Yes.
So, very nice.
All right, now we also have a couple of firearms related parting shots here. We have this one right here. This is what looks like a wooden boy or a puppet boy, a clay boy anyway, talking to his dog. He says, "You're going to Grandma's today. The ATF are coming to talk about suppressors."
There you go. Got to send Puppy away. You got to protect him. Can't have Puppy around the ATF.
Cannot have Puppy around the ATF. I feel bad for them sometimes because they're like, how can we ever live down this meme? But it's yours. Own it.
That's it.
Here we have .308 caliber ammo made with recycled straws. Is that Greta Thunberg?
Dare you?
How dare
How
you?
dare you?
You've stolen my future.
How dare-
And then
Sometimes
finally,
Craig, I like to leave- Ooh, sorry.
I saw this
Sometimes
one. I
Craig,
had
I
to
like
share
leave-
it. You know, since we saw the Epstein list was being released, Mount Touchmore. You want to point out who has made the who has made the honor of being on Mount Touchmore?
Yeah, there's Handsy Joe, right? Let me sniff your hair. There's Epstein, the world's provider of underage children. Harvey Weinstein. You know who said you want to be a movie star? Visit me at 2 a.m. You know, and then of course Clifford Huxtable, who was found to be not guilty of those crimes.
Cliff Huxtable was found to be not guilty, but I do think that Bill Cosby was found guilty. You know who's missing from this?
But then he was found not guilty.
Yeah. You know who's missing from this? Governor Cuomo.
Oh yeah. The Cuomo boy.
He actually had to resign as a result of it. So,
I didn't know that touching her on the butt was a bad thing.
I
didn't
know.
I didn't-
Society's changing.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, folks, we're right up against it, so we're going to go ahead and head on out. But before we do, let's give one last shout out to our sponsors.
Yep, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. You can get AR rifle and pistol barrels at any length for any caliber you desire. Check out them now at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Check out California's 6th congressional race and contribute a few pesos there if you have the opportunity. And, of course, if you want the best in tactical gear on the market, get on over to uscombatgear.com and get whatever you need.
All right, folks, that's going to be it for today. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. So until then, y'all have fun, stay safe, stay frosty.